unboxing and reviews and how to. And good evening to you on this Saturday the 8th of July 2023. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Saturday evening. It's rather humid here in the Mub household. It's been raining all day pretty much and the sun is just breaking through, so we're just grabbing the very last of the sunlight coming through the window there. So yeah, hopefully we are all good. Oh crap, we can see and hear you. Never mind. It could be far worse.
So you might as well ask Ugly Bob, has he got?
Yeah, Bob, have you got a stream deck? That's what we were talking about. Calf's not seen your dick. Oh, where's the screen gone? Where did my screen go? Funny now. That's bizarre. Oh dear. Yes. Oh, was there something under there? No. I'm losing it today. This is all going wrong, as you'd expect. Yeah, it looks like everything's working, so hopefully you can all hear and see me and everything's good. Let's check the other. Is the overhead working? Hello. Hopefully you can see that. Oh, actually, I haven't cleared that, have I? Is that gone? There we go. Excellent stuff. So, can you see and hear me? Let's hope so. Maybe a little bit of a delay on the chat there, but I'm not too sure. Someone, if you can let me know in the chat if it's working. Willie Bob, picture quality good, sound good, overhead okay, all good, thank you. Nick Barnes said, looking pale, Mike, got rain washed your suntan. I think it's just the camera and the lighting at the moment. And where's the webcam facing? The webcam's facing down there. Oh, hello. That is hopefully working. Yeah.
Bob says it's a posh looking watch.
It's a cheapie. It's an
upgrade from the iPhone.
Yeah, it's a kind of an upgrade. So this is the a brand called Olevs, which is basically they have taken it upon themselves. Actually, let me show you a bit closer. They've taken it upon themselves to make a somewhat replica of the classic Rolex. I think it's is it the Submariner from Rolex? Not too sure.
Now explain all your colours.
So the colours are basically down to the channel. So we've got the blue for the Mike's Unboxing blue, got the gold, which is basically the Mike's Unboxing brown, and the silver is supposed to be white, which is the Mike's Unboxing writing. So it kind of fits in with the logo. That was my strange theory on it. So kind of matching colours. And also I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to look around the house and look at all the stuff we've got, which actually has either Wi-Fi or electricity or something going through it, which it probably doesn't necessarily need it. And one of the first things was my smartwatch. It's like, well, do I really need a smartwatch? It is essentially just another tether on my time. Every now and then I'm looking at it because there's a notification come through. And even some of you out there in viewerland, if you've got a smartwatch or owned a smartwatch, you're going to very, very much going to kind of have an association, or you're going to have this feeling at some point, and that is when you get that phantom notification. So you're out doing something, maybe you're out shopping. I did this today actually a couple of times. I'm still getting it now. And I went out shopping and I'm walking along, I got a basket, and all of a sudden I think, oh, I've had a notification come through, and my initial gut reaction was to grab it as to look at my watch for a notification when I haven't got it there. So it's like a phantom notification, which really, like, we shouldn't be tethered to these things as much as we are. We do it with our smartphones. You've got it in your back pocket, you feel a vibration from your phone and you're immediately like, oh God, quick, stop everything, grab the phone. Oh, it's all right, it's nothing important, carry on. In this, yeah, we've all been there. Nick Barnes says, yeah, I hear you, Mike. We are looking at our 4-year-old Samsung watches the same way. Do we need eSIMs? Yeah, that's it. So I'm very much trying to kind of just break away from it a little bit more. Maybe some of the home automation things that we've got here, do we really need them? Some of them are very useful, especially the for super chats, the home automation for the lamp. That's really, really helpful and has been quite an income earner. So that's great, and thank you very much, Arali, for the £10. Thank you very much. And I should say thank you as well to the super chats from earlier from Bob, I think it was, with £2. Let's have a look, viewer activity, where are we? Yes, excellent stuff. So thank you, Arali, and thank you, Bob. And thank you all for joining us on this Saturday evening. It's been it's been a very weird week. I did my back in last week, if you probably remember if you were in last week's stream. So I did my back in, and then somehow I managed to do my neck in as well.
Your back got
I'm not
fixed.
sure whether I did that in the same night or not, whether that was evident. But yeah, I basically did my neck in as well, either the same day or next day. So yeah, it wasn't until probably Thursday or Friday that my neck was getting better. It still is like a bit, not quite entirely right, but
You expect
getting there.
having that great bobblehead on it.
Yeah, it's my bobblehead. Better not do that. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I was in the shower and I shook my head to get all the soap out of my hair, like you do, and yeah, just something cricked in my neck. And I was like, oh, for God's sakes, getting old. Thank you, Ugly Bob, for the Disco Ball bot activate. £10. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Tony says, Mike, is Banksy from Bristol? Please tell the truth, bro. Yeah. And I'm almost 100% sure, well, I'm very confident that I've actually met him, because the people that he would normally kind of go around with, some of them worked for the BBC and are in basically TV, so they kind of know each other. And if Banksy is who I believe it is, he isn't what you'd expect at all. He isn't like some kind of street hip kind of dude. He's like just a college educated normal guy. Like very smartly dressed. Anyway, moving on from that. Kennedy says, can't wait to see the D41 case. It's very good. It's a nice case, and I've been waiting for a lot. There's a reason why I haven't done the build. Now, the build, I'm still in the process of kind of finalising some of the parts, so I'm going to go through some of those parts, show you that off today. We're going to go through the case, do a little bit of a breakdown, try and answer some questions as well, because there's been a lot of people who've had interest in the D41, and the D40, and the D31, which is its smaller brother, and also the GameMax Spark, which is kind of loosely based around the same case. I have had a close look between the two, and the GameMax Spark, even though it looks very similar in terms of shape, size, etc., there are some significant differences. So the Jonsbo is the kind of better quality case, I would say, and there's arguably more flexibility to it as well. But something I should mention as well, the GameMax Spark and also the D41, if you want the D41 but you're not really keen on the front mesh or the front LCD panel, overclockers.co.uk have just listed, I think today or yesterday, they're taking pre-orders for the new version, which is basically with a solid front. So it's kind of all the same stuff, but with a solid front, which some people said they'd prefer because the power supply being in the front, and if you don't have like a screen there, it's kind of almost pointless being perforated because you can't really put fans in there. So if you did want the solid fronted version, which I actually think looks a little bit smarter, especially on the black version, definitely. So yeah, if you do want that, it is available, overclockers.co.uk. I think if you go from the link that we've put in the video description, you can probably get to it from there. If not, just go to overclockers.co.uk and type in Jonsbo D41, and it comes up with a whole host of different options. I think there's possibly 9 or 10 options. There's a whole bunch of them anyway, and it'll probably bring up some of the D31s as well. So yeah, please do take a look at that if you're interested, obviously. Tix Bomber, is that a big old Boba Fett desk mat? Yes, it is. This was courtesy of William Bodie. And actually, so is this. This is some raspberry leaf tea, believe it or not. Who'd have thought? Healthy, you see. When things are falling apart on you, it's a good idea to be slightly healthy. Is that what you meant to do, Kath?
Yeah.
Turn it upside down and then put that in there? Good stuff. So, cheers everybody. It's not piss.
I haven't started. You were,
It's warm yet.
you were in therapy yet.
Yeah. Nick Barnes says, isn't the idea you can buy the basic case and at a later date add the screen? That is the theory. Now the screen, if you're looking at the screen for the D41, the part number is, I think it's Jonsbo DS-8, which currently at the moment in the UK you cannot buy separately. I found it on, I think it was AliExpress for, I think, £47, I think it is. And as always with AliExpress, whenever you go there, there's some kind of deal on. So maybe you get 2%, 5%, whatever. You get a discount on that. So potentially you can pick it up cheaper. If you were to buy the case with the screen from overclockers.co.uk as a complete thing, you're looking at about £115 at the moment. If you're buying the case on its own, around about £65 for the mesh version, if you do want to swap it out. And then you could possibly save a very small amount of money if you bought the screen separately from AliExpress, like I said, about 47, maybe, say, argument's sake, £45. For the sake of it, you're probably best off, if you can, save up the extra kind of 40 odd quid and just buy it with it straight off. I think that is the more sensible solution. So, yeah, hopefully that answers that question. Tony says, oh, I do love a Bristol accent. Thank you, because it's the only one I got.
Oi.
Although I do a particularly bad Norwegian, Irish, Welsh, Australian. I do all of them bad. Sorry, Glaswegian. Norwegian. Yeah, I don't do Norwegian. Glaswegian. That was the one. Close.
Oh, dear. Answer William Bodie's at the bottom.
William Bodie, did I send 2 cups or only 1? Was it 2?
One.
Oh, it was 1.
But we have a communal cup.
Yeah, we have a communal cup.
Angel wasn't too keen on the idea, but...
The tea is not from me. No, the tea is actually from our garden. From Kath growing her raspberry plant bush.
Thanks to our neighbour for giving that.
Kath's bush was getting a bit unruly, so she's trimmed it a little bit, and I'm drinking from it.
Oh, dear.
Ugly Bob says he does a great Vicky Pollard too. I do. Aletta says, why going from a 165Hz monitor back to the 60Hz laptop is killing my eyes. Yes, it is. It is a noticeable thing when you go from, if you go from a decent 165 to a very poor 60Hz, it's horrible. If you go to a not too bad 60Hz monitor, then it isn't quite as jarring, and especially if you're going from a very kind of like a cheap 165Hz. And the watch as well. If anyone's interested, it's from, I said Olevs is the brand. Currently on Amazon at $39.99, which I thought was actually pretty reasonable. It's got a nice clasp as well. Push a little button in there, and it pops open. Most of them are just compression ones, but it's actually got a proper kind of fitting on there. It's actually really heavy as well, surprisingly so. You could use it as a weapon, I believe. I won't, but you could do.
Although you did nearly throw it yesterday.
I did nearly throw it yesterday trying to get the pins out to do the strap adjustment. That was horrific. The tool they provide for it is like a plastic thing to wind in, and yeah, it was absolutely horrendous.
And the combination of your eyes.
Yeah, my eyes. My left eye sees really close. My right eye sees far away. So for like mobile phones and stuff, it's like left eye. For anything else, screens is right eye. Yeah, it's weird, I know. So yeah, trying to get 3D vision on a pin into a watch which is tiny is like, oh god, my eyes. And I refuse to put my glasses on.
So you gave it to me.
So I gave it to Kath to do, yeah. So yeah, good evening everyone. Mark Berry, Ugly Bob, Jay Rich, Sky Stalker, and Tina, how you doing? Matthew Day, Fish and Chips from the Chippy. Now did they have a yellow sticker on or orange sticker on? I'm guessing you asked for a discount. You should have dropped some of the chips and said, look, these got hairs on them. Can I get a discount? Actually, that's not a bad idea. I remember that.
Jason Wood down a little bit.
Jason Wood. Hi, Mike. Do you know of the Montec Fighter 500 white ATX mid-tower case? I don't, I'm afraid. Sorry, no. Montec cases are something which I've seen a few. I do fancy getting one, but I've not found one as of yet which has been tickled my fancy, so to speak. There is a super chat from Marco. Marco T. Thank you very much, sir. Hello, good people of this mighty channel. I lost 7 hours of my life diagnosing my dead computer after a board change. Solved it when it came alive outside of the case. Gentle screwing back solved it. Do you know what? On the Discord this week, there's been an awful lot of that. I would say more than usual. It seems that people are doing motherboard upgrades. And there's been quite a few new builds, and people are getting a very, very constant thing of basically PC not booting up after being built for the first time. And it's becoming increasingly common. We also had... I'm trying to think which name I should use now, because Discord names are often different from YouTube names. Anyway, somebody bought a motherboard on Discord, which is quite a nice one, B450 carbon Wi-Fi, and basically couldn't get it to work. Which the owner that sold it said it worked fine, but we went through all sorts of diagnosing and trying different parts and just couldn't get it to work. So yeah, there's a lot of crap going on. It's not good. But thank you for the super chat, Marco. Much appreciated. Skystalker said Flame. Where's Flame? Oh, that was. Oh, sorry, that was Maisie.
Flame's asleep on his bed.
Okay. Matthew Day says no, very expensive. Shame. Shame, shame, shame. Right then. So we're going to try and structure this stream a little bit if possible. So I'm going to try and spend about 3/4 of an hour to an hour on this build and the case. I'm not doing a build. I'm just going through the parts and going through why I've not started it yet. So we're going to do that for about 3/4 of an hour to an hour. So somewhere region of about 9, well, about 9:15, that sort of thing, hopefully. Then what we'll do is we'll leave it wide open. So if you've got any questions about obviously the case, or actually anything else at all, if you've got any questions about the case while we're doing it, I'll try and answer those. If that makes it a bit longer, then I apologise, but we'll try and get that done, because that is what my real goal today is, to answer the questions on the D41, and to then hopefully be able to use this stream in some shape or form to kind of send people in this direction. So if they got a question about the case and they say blah blah blah, I can say, right, yeah, go to the stream, it was answered in there between X and Y times. That's the plan. It probably won't work because I'm kind of useless at that sort of stuff. So yes, I think that is. And after that, yeah, I'll take questions while we're doing it and going through it, and then after we'll just throw it open. So if there's anything that's happened this week in the tech news, which there's been many things, so if you've got any questions or comments, or you would like my input or my my thoughts on the subject, then you're very welcome. So starting off with this case and why I haven't built in it yet.
2 seconds. Question.
Yeah.
So what can the screen do? Will you come to that?
I will come to what the screen can do. Essentially, the screen is an HDMI screen. So basically anything that a 1280 by 800 screen can do, it can do. So you can use it, if you've got good enough eyesight, you can use it as a primary display. If you're using it on like a server or something, or some kind of, maybe like an unraid box, that kind of thing, just so you can keep an eye on stats for your NAS server, whatever you want to use it for. Or you can use it as a supplementary monitor, so you can have like Discord on it. So if you've got it on the desk, you can see it, you can monitor your Discord. If you've got games on your primary monitor, it's basically just an additional monitor, and you can use it exactly how you want to. Jonsbo themselves, kind of in the sales marketing and also the downloads on their website for this case, they do provide links to kind of get yourself set up with like hardware monitor, but they don't provide a license for it. So you're kind of using hardware monitor, or yeah, it's hardware info 64. You will need a license to kind of get the most out of it, and also spend a bit of time configuring it to how you actually want it. It depends how you want to use it, is the honest answer. There's going to be so many people that want to use it in one way or the other. There is actually a switch on the side which you can change the brightness level, I believe it was, up and down, and also there's another button to actually turn the display on or off. So if you don't want it on all the time, or you want the ability to be able to turn it off, again, say you've built a server in it and it's in like in a closet or something, you don't want it on constantly all the time because that's just stupid. So you can just press the button on the side to disable it. Or if you've got it in your bedroom and you've got, like, you're watching a movie on your primary monitor and you want to turn it off, you don't have to go into kind of Windows settings and turn it all off there. You can just press the button on the side. So hopefully that answers Matthew Day. So it's an actual monitor, not just a stat screen. Yes, exactly. It is a standalone monitor. If you want to, you could take it out of the case. There is actually a little stand that comes with it, which we'll show you, and it comes with an HDMI cable and power cable. So if you want to, you can plug it into anything, like a DVD player, another PC, a switch, basically anything you want. Anything that's got an HDMI output or a display port which you can convert to HDMI, you can plug it into it and have it as a primary display for it if you wanted to. It doesn't have any speakers, which is a downside. So if you are wanting to plug it in something and actually get an audio output from it as well, then it doesn't have any built-in speakers, which is a bit of a shame. Would have been nice. And it doesn't have any touchscreen functionality as well. Again, that is something which I would have really loved to have seen. A little bit of touchscreen functionality on it, so you don't have to keep on dragging your mouse over to it to do stuff to it. That, I think, would have made it worth the extra money, personally. But it is what it is. So where do we start? So the case itself, we'll go through and take it out of the box. And the build which I'm planning to do with it comprises of the parts I've got over here. So let me just grab these a moment. Oh. So the primary thing going inside it is going to be this motherboard. So it's going to be an Intel build. So I wanted to use this. This is the NZXT N5Z690 motherboard. Probably a little bit overkill for what we're actually going to be putting in there, but I think the combination of these kind of accents on the motherboard are almost similar to the mesh actually on the case in various places, like that round holes. So I kind of like that it ties in with that, and the fact that it's got a little bit of white on there, even though it's a black board in a white case. I think that'll tie in quite nicely with that kind of monochromatic theme going on. Also, it's DDR4, and I've got a bunch of DDR4 cheap as well, so that was awesome. And it was a pretty cheap board, so £100 for this. You can still pick them up for £100, which I think is actually still excellent value for money. The downside of this, from what I can tell at the moment, which I still need to look into, is the RGB software. Because I don't think there is actually RGB software for this board as such. You can use the CAM software, but I think that only works for the CAM headers. There are normal addressable RGB headers on here, but I haven't figured out what software you have to use for that. Worst case scenario, I'll just use something like OpenRGB or Signal RGB to control it, which hopefully should be fine. And actually, if anybody's got this board already and they've figured out the RGB side of it, do let me know in the chat, because I'll be actually very useful. Yeah, it will be useful to know, because then I can kind of tell other people about it. But yeah, I haven't got a full system done in this. I did go through an ASRock site, because this is basically an ASRock motherboard with an NZXT BIOS on it. And from what I can tell, if you're trying to install the ASRock software for the polychrome sync, it doesn't like it. It just doesn't think that there's a ASRock motherboard in there. So anyway, that's the motherboard I'm going to be using. Processor wise, I'm going to be using a i5 13500. This I bought ages ago actually, and I was using it in my main video editing PC. Great processor. You're looking at, I think it's 20 cores in total. So there's, I've got to try and think now. It's 6 performance cores with hyperthreading. So that's the 12. Then you've got 8 efficiency cores as well. So it can run very efficiently. So if it is going to be a server or something, it just sips power, runs very, very quiet, very cool. Nice processor, nice board. I think that's probably about the right sort of thing. i5 or i7 on this board is absolutely fine. I wouldn't really recommend it for i9. I think that's probably a bad idea. So that is the main platform. Also, we'll be using the LJ1700 adapter, which I believe Rick H sent us this. I'm thinking. It was a little while back, but I haven't got around to using it yet, although I did use another one in my other system, but pretty sure Rick H sent that, so we'll be taking a look at that, or at least using that. I think it's more important to use these on the Z6 series than it is on the 7 series. I think the 7 series boards are a little bit stiffer, so they didn't bend as much. Thank you, Rick. Awesome. Storage wise, 2 terabyte flash drive. So this is PCI Express Gen 3x4 from, I don't even know how to say this name, Fanexiana, I think it is.
Did that come from Blue Bob?
No, it didn't actually, surprise. I actually bought this. If it's a Chinese brand, there's the X, in theory, should be pronounced with a like sh or s. So Fanciana, it could be. I don't know. If anyone knows, let me know. Anyway, it's 2 terabytes and it was cheap, so that was happy days. Power supply.
What brand was that, sorry?
What's that?
That one.
Fancian, I don't know. Some foreign stuff. Power supply, 750 watt Gain Max real power. This is the Rampage 750, which is a semi-modular, absolutely fine, and works out well in this case because we don't need all the wires, and because of where the power supply mounts, it's also going to be beneficial, so we don't have as much stuff to actually hide. So that's the kind of the bulk of it. The RAM is probably going to be either 16 or 32 gigs of DDR4 3600. It might be Trident Z. I have got some Trident Z, which Kieran, regular of the channel, sold to me this week or last week, which might look really nice in there. But yeah, I've got plenty of RAM, so I can try various combinations, see what works. It's going to come down mostly to the RGB software to see what I can actually get working. Now the star player of this, if you can say that, was supposed to be this. This is the Intel Arc A770. So I thought, this is great. It's an ASRock card. Effectively, it's an ASRock motherboard. This has got RGB actually on the card as well. So I'm hoping there's going to be some way that I can kind of tie it all together to make it look very cool and very trick. But, as some of you may know, my primary graphics card in my main PC is gone a little bit funky. So that's being returned for an RMA, which I thought wasn't going to take quite as long as it has done. So this at the moment is actually doing its duties in my video editing rig, basically in use all day, every day. So I've not got around to benchmarking this yet either, for the same reason. Although I will be doing that very shortly. I'm going to try and work something out. Either I'm going to buy another graphics card, or I don't know, something. I'm going to have to do something because I want to get the review done of this, because I'm actually really impressed with it, and it's just dropped down in price yet again. So this now is available, I think, for £129. Sorry, £229. Don't get excited. That would be nice. £129. That'd be awesome. £229 at the moment for the ASRock A770. I don't think there is a massive difference between the A750 and the A770. There's a little bit of an uplift, but not a huge amount. It's not like going from a 50 series card to a 60 series card, or a 60 to a 70 in terms of NVIDIA, that sort of thing. There is a very modest jump, but not a lot. It's like a couple of hundred megahertz at best. So yeah, nice card, triple fan, relatively cool, relatively quiet, and they seem to have ironed out a lot of the bugs in this now. So I thought it'd be great. Intel graphics card, Intel processor on Intel platform, so you can use things like QuickSync and HyperSync as well, which if you use the two together, yeah, it's just going to work out really well. So potentially it's going to be like a video editing machine, but also obviously you can play games on it to your heart's content if you wanted to. So primarily I'm thinking it's like a video editing machine, hence the 2 terabyte storage and also possibly 32 gigs of RAM. So that is the story there. And there's Dave Aiken. How you doing, Dave Aiken? Thank you very much for the super chat. Bless your heart. And there's Maisie. What was that? You were pointing at me to do something.
Oh,
Matthew Day support.
And then Sky.
All right. Let's have a look. Sky. Skystalker. Has the Intel Arc done a good job for video editing? Yeah, surprisingly, actually, considering my previous card that I was using was a Radeon RX 6900 XT, which is basically a flagship card. Adobe Premiere works in a very, very strange way with certain graphics cards, and for AMD cards particularly, it just basically doesn't like them. For some things it's fine. For actually rendering out footage in H.264, it does really well, and actually H.265 isn't too bad either. Where the AMD cards fall flat is actually on the timeline. So when you're at video editing, if you're sliding along the timeline as you do to find your cut points, etc., AMD cards are absolutely awful for that, and I end up basically reducing the footage down to such a low quality that it just basically is horrible. But the Intel Arc does seem to work really well on the timeline. I guess it's to do with QuickSync or QSync, which is a valuable thing within Adobe Premiere. So actually having an onboard iGPU and also the GPU, having the two work together has worked out really well. And in terms for video editing, if you are looking at getting into video editing as your primary kind of thing or some form of productivity, I would definitely give the Intel Arc a shot, especially if you are someone who's using Adobe Premiere. If you're using Resolve, probably not such a good idea. The drivers don't seem quite as polished for Resolve, but certainly for Premiere it's great. And as soon as they enable AV1 encoding and decoding, Intel cards are going to absolutely fly. but they do need to enable the hardware support for that, which they seem to be rather slow in doing. Thank you, Mr. Skystalker, for the $5 Canadian. Much appreciated. It says the Intel Arc series has come a long way. It definitely has, and it's getting better all the time. It's not perfect, and it's for gaming. If you look solely at the focus of gaming and FPS and support for games, I think Intel still have quite a mountain to climb, but they're getting there slowly. If you're looking more at a kind of wider scope in terms of a little bit of gameplay, productivity, video editing maybe, and kind of cost per frame and availability, and potentially looking at another side thing, maybe you don't want to put money into AMD, maybe you don't want to put money into Nvidia, which possibly is the case at the moment. You're trying to kind of vote with your wallet and say, no, we're not putting up with this anymore. Then maybe the Intel card is the way to go. Certainly with the price cuts which have come in, if there's any more cuts and they bring it down even lower, I think it's going to be hard to kind of not actually have a look at it and see what it's like. I would strongly recommend it anyway. So, yes. Oh, James Miscellaneous says, my bro ditched a 6700 XT for an ARC A770 and it solved the problem for him. There you go. They do seem to work. The Intel obviously know
they've just released another update
where their bread is buttered. Intel sell way more stuff to businesses and corporates than they do to gamers. It's just a numbers game. So if they can be really strong in the productivity and kind of general worktop, 3D rendering, Blender, all that kind of stuff, if they can excel in that, and with the potential of AV1 coming in being strong, then yeah, they can do really well. Rick H says, Intel just released another update for ARC. I went to check that today because somebody else said that and I can't find it. It didn't seem to be on the Intel website. I think I'm on version 4512. I can't see a newer version than that. Maybe we're not allowed it yet. Michael Craig says, Amazon have crucial 1TB P3s for under 35 quid. Needless to say, mistakes were made. That is awesome price. Yeah, we've got Amazon Prime Day coming up on the 11th and 12th, and there's already a few deals floating around. And actually, I'll quickly go on to this now. If you're building a PC, maybe you're looking at the Jonsbo D41, you're looking around at prices, I would definitely hold off at least just for a few days until Prime Day, because ultimately all retailers are going to be doing the same thing. So if Amazon has a sales day, all the other online retailers are going to do the same because they don't want to lose out drastically to sales. So they might not be the item you're actually looking for, but if you are looking to pick up a Jonsbo D41 or D40 or any of those range, Amazon aren't always the cheapest anyway on those. And for me, it seems at the moment, I think probably overclockers do appear to be pretty decent prices on there. So if overclockers are doing a site-wide sale, maybe a few % off, might be worth waiting. So yeah, don't make any rash purchases. Well, don't. Things like M.2 drives, SSDs, etc. They are commodity items now. So yeah, you kind of buy them. I've got a few in stock. I've got the MV2 there, which I think I probably paid more than I should have done. That's a 1TB. I'm pretty sure I paid about 50 quid for that. What? Unfortunately, we don't have the benefit of time travel at the moment. Ugly Bob says, I had to make a rash purchase. The itching was driving me insane. Very good. David Aitken says, overclockers just screw you with shipping, hard to stomach when you're used to Prime. That is very true. Yeah, that is that's something which a lot of the time when I'm shopping, I look at things like Scan. Some places, Scan actually more so than others, always have an offer on. So if you buy something else, you get free shipping for the entire basket. So those things are worth looking at. But yeah, it isn't all the time. And if you only want one thing, it's a bit pointless. Skystalker says, I hope Amazon has one on sale. You never know. Name89 says, I get free next day DPD shipping with overclockers due to being a loyal forum member. Yeah, I should have done that really. I did join it years ago, but I never really got into it. So yeah, maybe I should have done. Right, so let's take a look at this case. Now you know what is actually going to be going into it at some point. And unlike Blue Peter, this isn't one I prepared earlier, sadly. Want to get electrocuted now? No? Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Cheers, Jason. Oh, she likes that, doesn't she? Okie dokie. Right, this is where I get all of. Actually, that's fine. Right, so there you go. There is the case. You get the screen accessory box. So if you buy the screen version, which as you can see, there is a screen already attached to this one, which I think I've already scratched. Oh no, it's all right. There is a screen protector on it. I forgot about that. I was getting worried then. So you get all the usual stuff in there. You get your cable ties, spare parts, etc. Something which is nice, which I think I mentioned in the actual unboxing, is all the panels are just like pop-off ones, and the bits on the inner side, they're all metal. So this is all like solid metal, but the actual receiving bits here, which hopefully you can see, they're just plastic, but they do actually include a couple of spares in there as well. So if you do damage one accidentally, then they do actual replacements as well. It's quite a thoughtful things to do.
How big is the screen?
The screen is a 8-inch screen, I believe. I will measure it. Normally you do diagonal from the visible, so there is a little bit of a bezel around it, unfortunately. So yeah, 8. So from there to there, there is about a. Actually, I can measure it, can't I? Instead of just guesstimating. So there is a, I would say 15mm bezel around the side.
Have you got anything 8 inches for
I
comparison?
don't think I have. And the top is about 12mm. Maybe slightly under. Yeah, about 12mm. So 12mm at the top and the bottom, and a little bit of a wider bezel on the side. You've got an 8-inch diagonal there on the screen, and it is a 1280 by 800 resolution. And to take it out, really you should take out the side panel first of all, but it's just connected on the back. So there is a USB cable in there which goes into, let's see, I don't think I've got it connected. Normally it goes right out the very back, so it kind of passes all the way through, and then you plug it into the back of your PC through the I/O. But you can just disconnect those. So it's a mini HDMI and also a USB Type C, I believe. Yes, Type C. So that is the display, which is actually pretty cool. And on the side there, you've got the buttons. So there's a plus there, minus, and a power button. So that turns the screen off, like I said a little bit earlier. And also something which you can do, which some people might prefer to do, because having a screen on there is kind of okay, but sometimes you want the flexibility of being able to just not have it or move it elsewhere, or maybe you just don't like the look of it, which I understand completely. Not everybody is going to be liking this particular look. So what you can do is, if I push these back, actually, there we go. Let's pull that out of the way.
Your teeth going to knocked over now.
I know, you said.
Is it a touch screen?
It isn't a touch screen, sadly.
Any chance you can place it in front of your thermal tape case to see the size difference?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So if you don't want it actually in... I'll move this out of the way. So if you don't want it, your display here, maybe the PC is going to be under the desk, which probably is not advisable for most people. But if you don't want it there, you can put it elsewhere. And in the accessories box, along with your cables, which you'd normally get as well, you get these little screw-in feet. So what you can do on the bottom, that round. So there's two little mounting pillars, or post holes, I suppose you call them, and you can screw those in. Although I don't think these don't fit particularly well, the screws, but you get the general idea. So you can put that then, and you can have it as a just a regular monitor. So you could have your cables in the back. Maybe you have this. I think Skystalker is one who said about it before. So you have your main monitor in front of you, then have another smaller monitor kind of just at the bottom, just underneath. So you've got your monitor raised above, so you can have other things on there like notifications. Of course, if you want to, you can put it into some sort of phone holder or something if you wanted to, and have it kind of almost flat. So it's kind of, you've got your normal screen above, and you've just got this flat, so you can just like glance down to see notifications. Maybe you've got your emails open, or threads, or whatever it's called these days. Whatever all the cool kids are watching. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Just so that's that new thing, isn't it? Threads.
No idea.
From Meta.
Oh, like Twitter.
So that is, if you look at that screen there, it is considerably bigger than what is normally in there.
Some kind of worms.
You could, if you wanted to, if you've got like another case, then you could put it in. I could put it there. That would be pretty cool. Or on that back wall. Maybe if it was a little bit longer, but I suppose you could put it there. It blocks the graphics card a little bit. But ultimately, if there's somewhere you want to put it, there's no reason why you can't, as long as you've got the space.
Can you hold the whole case up against it?
The whole case against that?
Yeah. That's how I read it. I wondered what you were doing. Sorry. It's about the same thing. What's that?
About the same depth, but it's about, I don't know, 4 inches shorter in terms of height, and about 3 or 4 inches. Let's see, has that gone right to the back? Yeah, so if you, so it's about there. And if you imagine this case without this front panel, that line there, that's the kind of size of it. And width-wise, a little bit narrower as well. A bit hard to say exactly how much, but although saying that, I have got a ruler, so I can measure. So in terms of width, this is 8 inches exactly. And this is, well, just the front panel on its own is 9. There's a little bit of overhang each side, so about 9.5, I would say, in total. So yeah, a little bit smaller overall. So anyway, that is the LCD panel. Again, not touchscreen, which actually is, I was really disappointed about that, it not being a touch panel. I think that is something which, oh God. Stop tracking me.
Lucky Mum wants to know if you're drinking your own pee.
I am. Yeah, it's very good for you.
No TTZ. Do you have to install Wi-Fi drivers on a new motherboard?
Yes, generally. Well, it depends how, well, no. Yes and no. It's a hard one. Do you have to install Wi-Fi drivers? We actually had this in the Discord this week. Normally you would have the drivers installed by Windows 11 or Windows, whichever version it is. If you get the latest version, there's a pretty strong chance that the roll-up drivers will have your drivers installed. If you've got a pretty modern system with Wi-Fi 6 or Wi-Fi 6E, or it's a new style chipset, then potentially it might not. If you haven't, you're going to come to a dead end. I've actually made a video about this yesterday on how to get past that if your system doesn't pick up on the wireless or anything. So no, I don't think it is. Is it unlisted or no? Okay. Yeah, it is. It's on there. I did it today. I did the thumbnail for it.
Oh right.
Anyway, there is essentially, if you get to the point where it says Windows cannot continue, just do Shift F10, and then that'll bring up the command prompt, and then in the command prompt you can type in OB, so it's OOBE, backslash, got to try and think what the rest of the thing is now. Oh, bypass, capital B, and then NR.
Unlisted and just list it there. No.
So type in bypass, capital B, then NRO in capitals, and then press enter. It'll reboot and it'll let you click on the thing that says I don't have an internet connection. Then you can go in after and install the drivers after. Anyway, back to the case. So, plenty of room in there actually, surprisingly, considering it is a relatively compact-ish tower, in like something like that, or the CTE 750, which we took a look at. Well, we took a look at ages ago, but the video only came out this week because we were waiting for the stock to come in from Scan, because basically no one's had any stock. So yeah, that is a monster, ridiculously big. So you can take this panel out on. No worries.
Should I say join Discord?
Yeah. So this is a blanking plate for the power supply area. Now, if you've got a power supply which you kind of don't mind seeing, you don't have to install this. For me personally, this is the only part of the design which I feel isn't done very well. I would have much preferred to see this be either a captive panel there or part of the design and the glass only go along there. Like we used to have with PCs back in the day, so you'd have like your tempered glass which would sit on top of the PSU basement. So if you imagine this being kind of like that, that would be what your PC would be like, and you just have a piece of glass which just covered that bit, not bother covering that bit. So for me personally, I think I would have preferred to have not had that and have a smaller piece of glass. I guess obviously there are reasons why they've decided to do what they decided to do, but yeah, anyway. So that comes out so you can get access inside. So you've got your power supply mounting bracket there. You've also got at the bottom, you've got a hard drive mounting bay. So you can put a single 3.5-inch drive in there and a 2.5-inch on the top. You can attach to that if you wanted to. You could probably stick a 2.5-inch underneath as well. So if you've got a 3.5 in there, put a 2.5 on top. So that is possible. To take those out, you actually have to take off the front panels. So you pop those off, and put them to one side. So you can see this is like a hook-on system there. So you undo the screws, which I think have I taken these out already? Oh no. So there's a screw there. And a screw there. So with that out the way, you can then lift that up and take out your power supply mounting. So standard ATX power supply mounting section. You also got some mesh on there. So if you want to have it fan facing out, you can do. Obviously, if you want to have it fan facing the other way, you can do, because that is going to be against mesh as well. So you're going to have airflow around your power supply regardless of which way you do it. Some power supplies do make a little bit of a whining noise or like a turbulence noise when they're up against mesh like this. So if you've ever got a power supply that will do that, then just spin it around the other way, and then there's going to be about that much room between the power supply and the front of the case. So if your fan is making that kind of turbulent noise, then that should allow you to not make that noise. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. And again, with that open, you can see there's a lot more room. You can mount this as well in varying heights as well. So depending what you're going to put in here. So if you're putting a radiator in the top, like a 360mm rad in the top, with fans and it drops down a bit, you're going to be cutting out where you can put your power supply. So this actual bracket, because it just hooks on, so if you've got a massive graphics card, you put it up to the top. Not easy to do from this side. So that is in the top mounting position. So you imagine your power cables going into the top of the power supply from here. So that gives you absolute ton of room here for the graphics card. But say for instance, like it's going to be a bit close to your 360 rad, so you want to move it down, you can. There is 4 levels of adjustment. So that's the next one down. Take it out, put it down. Obviously, normally you'd put screws in there to hold it in place. So a little bit lower down again. And the very lowest one is just there. So that's the lowest the power supply can be, but then that is going to eat into some of the space for the graphics card. Although, depending on what graphics card you're using, that is your PCI Express slot there. So that's still going to give you the best part of about 320 mil, or just over about 12.5 inches, she said. So again, you can move this up and down to suit what you want. So you can have a relatively largest graphics card and also a 360 rad, or yeah, basically do whatever you want to do. It's very flexible in that regard. If this is going to be in your way at the bottom for putting your drive cages in, maybe you don't want to put a drive cage in there, which a lot of people don't. Removable magnetic filter as well on the bottom, in actually a very sensible place, and the way it locks in, it means it doesn't slide around. So if you move something underneath your case, it's not going to blow this out of the way. And they've used that really nice fine mesh, which I think all cases that have filters on should be using that fine mesh. It works so much better than the kind of the metal stuff that we tend to get all the time. So yeah, that's very, very nice. And to take this out, got 4 screws on the slack. Mitch Monster says, hi there, can anyone recommend a reverse case? Well, the Thermaltake ones at the moment are kind of inverted. Or do you actually mean reverse? Like completely back to front with the glass on the other side? Because if you want one with the glass on the other side, I think it's the Silverstone, no, sorry, Charcoon, I think it's the Rev 200 or Rev 220. We reviewed it ages ago on the channel. Kath will probably try and find you a link for it so you can see what it's like. I kind of liked it, but I didn't, because I couldn't put it on my desk, because you can't really see it, so I had to put it over there behind me, which didn't really work out in here. Alright, so that is the drive cage. As you can see, nothing out of the ordinary there. You can put 2 drives in there. Yeah, 2 3.5 inch drives, sorry, you can put in here, and another 2.5 on the top. Again, lots of mesh there, lots of potential airflow. You can put 360mm rad on the top, or 2 140s. In the bottom here, you can either put 2 140s or can you put 2 140s or 3 120s. So basically same top and bottom. You can put fans in the front here as well if you want to, because it is mesh. So you can put a 120 in the bottom here. Your power supply, if it's going to be mounted here, you can have your cables coming down, so probably not the best of ideas. And in terms of the kind of the overall aesthetic, if you think looking at it front on, because it is mesh, you're going to see just this bottom bit lit up if you've got a fan there. If they're RGB, obviously if they're not RGB, it makes no difference at all. It's going to be absolutely fine. Plain white fan in there, no one would know the difference. Or if you get the black version, plain black fan, no one's going to know the difference. So there is options for additional airflow up front, should you want to. The only consideration again is because this is effectively mesh on mesh. So you've got this mesh section, then you've got the front panel, which is mesh as well, which they're spaced out, so it's not going to be that disruptive, but it will have a slight effect on the fan at the bottom, so make sure it's like a decent static pressure one. If you just go for a cheapo fan in the front there, because it's mesh on mesh, you're going to lose a lot of your airflow. And also because the actual pinholes are kind of like a 50% design, so half of your fan's blocked off before you even start. So for mounting fans in this front section, I would probably avoid it if at all possible. It's not going to be ideal. And the same for the bottoms. The holes are a little bit bigger, I think, possibly. Or are they? Yeah, it's not great. I would have liked to have seen the mesh being a little bit more open on the bottom for the intake. Of course, if you are handy with a Dremel, then you can just cut all that stuff out if you want to. It doesn't impede it a great deal, but I just would have liked to have seen it a little bit more open. So that is pretty much it. The motherboard, when it fits in there, is kind of recessed in, which actually gives it quite a nice look, I think, because then you can hide the cables between these cutout points here. And there's plenty of those pass-throughs and cutouts, which is always beneficial. Hello. What are you doing? What do you want? Gonna jump? No? Just gonna have a walk around, just to check things out. Happy? No? Okay. We move on. Well, let's take a look at the front I/O. So the front I/O is pretty straightforward. The most horrendous connection in the world ever, the USB 3.0. I hate this connection, I really do. It's absolutely awful. You've got your front panel audio, HD audio, very simple. You've only got a couple.
So this is basically a mesh version of the GameX Spark Pro.
Very similar, yeah. Only two connections for the front panel I/O. So you've got the power switch, and also there is a power LED, which is built into the actual power button. So you press the power button on, it's kind of got an LED in there so you know it's on. No hard drive activity LEDs, no reset switch either, which is a little bit unfortunate. But we do have a USB-C connection, which these are also becoming somewhat problematic as well, I'm finding. And I think as time goes on, we're going to find more and more of these that are damaged. And for a very similar reason to the ones with the USB 3.0. And that is because a USB Type-C internal header isn't universal. It doesn't fit both ways. There are some very, very subtle differences to it. And if you look at it very closely, it is kind of keyed one side, but it's actually worse than the USB-A.
Glenn's in.
Ah, Glenn Hathaway, how you doing? Says, hello Mike and Kath, hope you're all good. Yes, sorry, I'm trying to read it through this screen because I have a screen.
Pinhole glasses.
Yeah, it's like pinhole glasses, yeah. Good to hear from you, Glenn. I was just thinking actually a couple of weeks ago, I think I will give Glenn a call, see how he's doing.
And I'm not on Facebook anymore.
And Kath's not on Facebook, so yeah.
I haven't got Messenger, sorry.
Anyway, so that is your front panel connections. Yeah, do be careful with USB Type-C. It's a shame that they've made the USB Type-C connection that you actually plug into physically universal, so it goes in either way. It just seems really bizarre that the actual header isn't. So it is actually keyed. So with these, when you're plugging them into your motherboard, don't just jam it in there. You're thinking, well, why doesn't it go in? Because it is actually keyed. But they don't actually mark it anyway to say which side is which, that I can tell. But yeah, there is a very, very slight difference. Or at least there seems to be. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But pretty much everything I've tried to plug these into, one way it goes in easy, one way it doesn't at all. So maybe that is right. Can I have a look at it? Yeah, one end has got a little bit more of a curl than the other. Let me know in the comments, am I mad? Is the USB Type-C motherboard header keyed or not? I should have looked it up before the stream actually, because it's been one of those things that's been bugging me for ages.
Mike Holloway, while you're there.
Mike Holloway, hi Mike, should I go for the B550 Steel Legend or B550 MSI Mag Torpedo? Can poor motherboard VRAMs be a cause of high latency? Yes and no. I would probably go, well, if you're going for like the Torpedo, is the actually I'm trying to think, Torpedo. Is the Torpedo the Micro ATX one? Are you actually looking at Micro ATX or are you open to either? I would probably, well, it depends on the processor as well. There's lots of ifs and buts. I'll try and come back to that later. If you're still in the stream later when we finish with this, we can go into it in slightly more detail, or just join our Discord and ask there, and I'll try and dedicate a bit more time to it. There's a lot of ifs and buts and whats and whys that could make significant changes there. Right, back of the case. So back of the case, nothing out of the ordinary here. So PCI Express blanking plates, all of them are removable and replaceable. There's a thumb screw there, so that flips open. It's on a hinge as well, so that's good. It doesn't go flying off anywhere. And if you look at the side, you see you've got access to the screws there, so they're nicely covered up. They all come out. Lots of mesh again, lots of kind of passive airflow on this thing. So you've got a section on the back here, so you can put a 120mm fan in here. Top section, a little bit of breathing room. These are actually quite a good idea to have a little bit of ventilation at the top. I see a lot of cases where this is just like blanked off, where really it's kind of good. You can allow some of the additional heat, especially if it's in a positive pressure case, let some of that heat just naturally radiate out through all the holes. Flip side of that, obviously, if you've got a negative pressure case, then you're going to suck in air and dust. So yeah, it's kind of swings and roundabouts with that.
Glenn will catch up in the week, just wanted to say hi and hello.
Oh, nice one, Glenn. Thank you, mate. Bless your heart. I think that is it for there. So let's take a look at the backside, said the vicar. Again, really nice and easy to take these apart. If you're somebody who tinkers with your system a lot, this is very cool because you don't need any tools. You can just, well, as you can see, I've only used screwdriver to take out the kind of drive bays. Other than that, it's very much a simple thing to work with. Something which possibly isn't going to be as simple is the cable management on the back. So this cable here, this is your main power cable, which pops through, goes into the power supply area, and you've got your IEC lead, or kettle lead as we call them here in the UK. Traditionally these were always attached to kettles. So that goes into your power supply, so that tucks through there. It's basically a pass-through, so nothing too out of the ordinary. You've got these nice channels to run your main cables through. Something else to be slightly mindful of is because it's running through this channel, you might be taking a little bit further to go to certain areas. So again, depending what your setup is, because the power supply is going to be here, you might want to pass the cables kind of either through the top section or through here. There's plenty of holes to do so. So if you take maybe your main EPS connector, it's going to come out of there, go up through there, along through there and back down, in which case you might find it better to take it around or straight across, depending. So you might need extensions to make it look tidy, depending on the power supply. So we'll find out when we do the build, eventually, when we do get the build done. Yes, Kath?
Freedom House says, yeah, Type C is directional, one side is flat, one side is angled.
Thank you very much. I'm glad I'm not going slightly insane.
And Matthew Day says, seems like a chimney airflow would work well with it.
Chimney airflow would be ideal for this, I think, personally. Yeah, very much like the Spark. So yeah, cable management, there's loads and loads of punch outs for cable tying stuff down. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. There's probably more than you need, but I'd rather have more cable tie points than not enough. So yeah, that's very cool. Loads and loads of tie down ports. You've also got the option for more drives, so removable carrier for 2.5 inch drives. Very nice. Another one there. Again, if you want to add more room for cable bunching, you can do if you want to, put all that there. So in terms of physical drive storage, excluding M.2s, because obviously they'll be on your motherboard, but you're going to be looking at 2 3.5 inch drives in here, plus a 2.5 on the top. Obviously you can configure that how you want to, and another 2 2.5 inch drives in here, so that's 5 in total. But you can potentially also, where is the other panel? Some people have said that you can actually put another drive or 2 on here, and also the front section, because of the layout of this, if you don't put a fan in this bottom section and you've got holes here, you can physically mount drives on here. So if you do want to put more in there, I don't think anyone's really going to be putting more than 5 drives in one of these things. Maybe you are, I don't know. But yeah, there's lots of additional options for that sort of stuff. What else we've got? So pass-throughs and all that kind of stuff you can see. So there's pass-throughs at the bottom as well to get your cables into your motherboard section. I would have liked to this section here to be a little bit lower, because trying to get some of your cables into those pass-throughs, if you've got slightly more chunky cables, they might be a little bit awkward to get them in, but yeah, it's a very, very minor thing. Looking at the top, so the top's nice and easy as well. So thumb screws, not a pop-off unfortunately, but it's just thumb screws. So this is your top mesh, quite a nice fine mesh, reasonably restrictive, not overly so. It's going to be one of those things like it's doing a bit of both, isn't it? So it's doing exhaust or intake depending on your setup. Realistically, I think it's going to be fine. And there is the top section. So your power supply normally is going to live up here somewhere. So 360mm rad, 3 120mm fans, 2 140mm fans. All of that is going to be really easy to install, and it's nice to see they haven't done too much of this framework stuff. So if you are putting fans in, they're not going to be blocked off by chunks of metal. So that is, yeah, pretty nice. Again, the caveat on this, if you're putting a 360mm rad in here, you are going to want to put your power supply in lower, which is then going to affect what length of graphics card you can have. So if you're going for a triple fan card, pretty much most triple fan cards I don't think will go. Dual fan cards, fine, or if you're going for a water-cooled card, although I don't know if this is the sort of case that people would use for a water-cooled card. Let me know what you think. I don't know. Possibly you would, possibly you wouldn't. But overall, I think it's a very nice looking case. Personally, for me, they did ask me at the time saying which version, which ones you want for the review. And I was umming and ahhing. I think if it is for me personally to keep long term and to use for myself, I think I would have probably gone with the black one. Although the white one is much easier to film. So, yeah. I think white cases, as nice as they are, I think they do have, I don't know, I think there's something nice about the kind of the look of a black PC case. Because when it's all lit up, like in there you can see pretty much everything. Everything's lit up, you can see everything. Whereas with a nice dark case, with a little bit of a smoke to the glass, you can just see a little bit of ambient lighting going on there. Nothing really strikes you as being like, oh, that is that, that is that. Whereas in a black case where it's a bit darker, it's kind of got that sort of slight mystique about it. So you're not entirely sure what is in there. It just looks a bit more stealthy. I don't know. I do like the look of a white case, I think. But I think in terms of dust, actually, dust-wise, white cases don't show dust very well at all. It's great. Whereas obviously a black case shows up dust like crazy. But white cases, like anything, like white paint in your hallway and all that stuff, eventually they start to tarnish and go a bit yellow. So that is something which is, you're kind of either going to be constantly trying to keep it clean with bleach and stuff, or running like UV lights over it or whatever to stop the yellowing process, which unfortunately is one of those things. White coloured anything eventually will sort of start tarnishing, even if it's done particularly well. Depending on how long you keep it, where it's kept. If it's kept somewhere dark as well, where it's not getting direct sunlight, chances are it's going to darken even more or quicker. I think sunlight actually bleaches it so it doesn't go yellow. Or it might be the exact opposite. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't do chemistry, as you could probably already tell.
Or geography.
Or geography for that matter, yeah. Didn't do many of those things.
You didn't go to school much, did you?
Well, I didn't enjoy school. There's far better things to do, like sleep. I'm a big fan of sleeping. I think it's underrated. So you're probably thinking, Mike, well, that's all well and good, that's great, but what cooling are you going to be using in this? And I've got to be honest with you, I am not 100% sure. I did have a very strong urge to put a 360mm radiator in here, but the 360mm radiator that I actually have, unfortunately, won't be able to fit in here because of it doesn't have the right fittings for the LGA 1700 socket. So I was thinking along the lines of actually going for air cooling. Now, the Ugly Bob, bless his heart, actually sent a Jonsbo cooler, which is up in this case currently. That is the Jonsbo Pisa. Well done. Pisa P5?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's a Pisa 5 because that's got the 5 heat pipes rather than the 4.
Okay.
So, hold on. I'm impressed. Can't remember the thing.
It's because you made such a big deal of it being straight and not leaning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, true. Yeah, nothing to do with the actual thing. Just it was leaning.
It wasn't leaning.
Or not
You
leaning,
kept
rather.
going on
Yeah.
about it.
What was I going to say? Yeah. So cooler-wise, I think putting the Jonsbo cooler into the Jonsbo case, being that it's white, it all kind of matches as well. I think that's going to be good. And also, it comes with a nice LGA 1700 socket fitting as well. And it doesn't really need to be outrageous in terms of cooling. So then that means we've worked out we're going to go with the air cooling setup in here. So then what case fans do we put in here? And that has been something which has been troubling me, and I'm still deliberating over it in terms of case fans. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do. We did recently get some case fans from up here. They got some new fans, but I don't down here, up there, over there. I don't think I've got quite enough static pressure to push the amount of air through here that I would like. So I'm kind of tempted to go with Arctic's P12s in white if I can get them. I think those would work really nicely, or maybe 4 Arctic P14s. Arctic P14s, 2 in the top, 2 in the bottom, straight up chimney effect. I think that would work quite well. But yeah, or actually one for the back as well. So yeah, I'm tempted. I haven't used Arctic fans in a little while. It's been some time since we've had some Arctic fans on the channel, and I know there's a lot of people that like Arctic cooling, so I might do that. Get some P12s or P14s. I was looking at the Bionics ones, but I think they're a bit too expensive, so I might just go for regular ones. Yes, Kath?
Ugly Bob asks, are you going to put one of those 50mm 360 AIOs in there? You kind of covered that for now.
No.
Freedom House, looks like you can put that PSU in the ceiling as well. Maybe not if it depends on board size.
Yeah, possibly.
Nick Barnes' question, do you want to read it? 'Cause
I will try. Let me see. Nick Barnes' question. Question mark, do you feel a Hellhound RX 6700 XT would fit? It's 305 long and 50mm wide. Yeah, I think 305. Let me get a smaller ruler. I have multiple rulers to choose from just for this exact thing. So that is 300. Yeah, 305 would be fine. In fact, 305 would be alright with the power supply top or bottom. That is about 3.5, 3.10 is kind of you're going to be your limit, I think. But yeah, sounds like that'll do it.
David Thompson says use a couple of air dusters as case fans.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Why is this not fitting here now? Am I being stupid? Ah, yeah.
Where's Stuart tonight?
Stuart?
Not out.
Probably. That's better. Bloody mountain holes.
David Aiken says white Arctic ARGB would be nice.
Yeah, I'm thinking the white Arctic ARGBs would be nice, but they're bloody expensive, aren't they? That is the downside. Arctic stuff is really good, but it's like super expensive.
Unlike your watch.
Yeah, unlike my cheap ass watch. Matthew Day, if you're one for the back, then one for the front to balance it. Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure if... I think with this sort of setup... Oh, for God's sakes. Right, mental note to self, never take drive cage out again, ever.
William Bowden says, did you know it's hard to get Noctua fans now? New ones will come out this year, but all white.
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting to see what happens with Noctua fans. If they come out with some white fans, that'd be pretty good. I think that's probably what they needed to do. It'd be interesting to see what plastics they use. Now that was something which Arctic did very badly in the beginning, around the sort of time of the Freezer 34, when that came out. They used a lot of white plastics on some of the coolers and also the fans, the surrounds, and I'm not sure what it was they used. There was something wrong with the plastics, and they yellowed like really quickly.
A bit like the plastic they use around the windows.
Yeah, it was almost like the silicone sealant that you use on windows, and it just went really yellow really quickly. I think the one that I had, the cooler went yellow in must be less than a month. And it really surprised me. It's like, because when I took it out of the box, it's like, it looks off-white anyway. Hopefully they've changed that.
A few months old before you even got it out of the box. Man.
Yeah, it's probably been in shipping and stuff, or in a warehouse somewhere. But yeah, it was one of those things that was like, if you're spending a lot of money on some computer fans, sorry about the noise. Yeah, if you're spending a lot of money on computer fans, then the last thing you want is them to look like they've yellowed in a very short-ish time. I think that for me was one of those things that was like, yeah, this is kind of like a bit of a defining moment. I like Arctic stuff, don't get me wrong, but I think they got to a point where they kind of started to believe in their own hype, and they thought they were going to be like the next Noctua, which clearly they're not going to be.
Dave Aiken said we bought that white Arctic Freezer 34 with you.
All right.
The rubber parts look very discoloured.
There you go. Now, to be fair, we are in a house with animals, cats, dogs. Well, not dogs.
No dogs.
No, but, well. Kath got called a dog the other day. It was quite funny. I laughed. Kath laughed as well. Yeah. Kath was out walking around, and the person that she was with commented to a driver that they were driving too fast or like nearly knocked him over. So he kind of did the whole kind of like thing. So then the guy come around the corner and give him some abuse and called Kath a dog as well.
And I didn't even talk.
There's nothing to do with Kath either. She's just an innocent bystander. There is such a thing. Oh dear, fun times. That's what you get to live. That's what you get for living in the shithole like we do. I'm joking. We live in a nice area. Ugly Bob's going to go in John Wickham.
Oh.
To be honest with you, I think they probably already did be a bit John Wick. I think it was like brain damage or something. Right, I think that's it. Right, I'm going to put the sides on. So bear with me a moment. And I'm going to pack this away, clear the desk a little bit, and then we'll take some more questions and talk about other things which have been going on this week. And actually, if David's still there, David, did you manage to speak to eBuyer this week? So I don't have to wait for the Amazon sales. Although I should treat myself. I've been good. Been a good boy.
Ugly Bob needs to go to the midi site soon.
Excellent stuff. Well, we will look forward to a visit from you, sir. Right, I'm going to pack this away. I think sitting on that little stool is absolutely disastrous for my back. My back is killing me.
When I got the refund on the carrier bag.
Yeah.
They didn't quibble that at all.
No, they
We
were.
didn't have the bag though, so I'm not paying for a bag. After they told me everything else
Yeah.
was last. They needed the bag was dangerous.
So yeah, I am very much interested, or not so much interested, I'm looking forward to getting the build done in this. I think it's going to look really nice. I'm more interested really to see what the thermals are like, because in theory the thermals should be excellent because there's so much ventilation and mesh, but because the mesh is of a slightly unusual shape and in places there's mesh on mesh, it'll be it'll be slightly, I'm slightly dubious how it's going to go. But I don't like to write anything off or say that something is, oh crap, shite unless it is absolutely shite. So that's why I want to do a proper build in this, get it all done, put some reasonably hot-ish parts in there for what it is, and see how it goes. I definitely wouldn't suggest putting in like a, I don't know, a 13900 or something like that in there. I don't think that's really what this case is aimed at. Sorry. Because we've got no room in here, I've got to actually put this back to where it normally lives, just so I can actually sit back down again. Oh dear. And because the PC market has been slightly dead, there is actually a PC which I should have sold by now, which I haven't. Nick Barnes says, Mike, thought you were redesigning studio so you had room for a gaming chair when streaming. Yeah, I think I got more chance of...
Unless we knock the room down and rebuild it bigger.
Yeah. We need to build back better, as they say. I've heard that be said.
So what, put all the tables on the ceiling?
Yeah. With a big gap on the bottom for airflow. Oh god. Is that going to fall off of there? No, that's good. Oh, I'm sure that lived in there. Was it there? Ah, there we go. This is ridiculous. I've got a really, really fine line between things being stored under here in a meaningful way and basically the whole lot just falling down.
missing building PCs, but they're just not selling these days.
I agree. Yeah, that's why I haven't. I've got a couple of PCs. Well, not a couple of PCs. This PC, which I'm kind of in the process of, and also I've got the one on the P20C, which I've built now. That's all done and dusted. Although, for those of you that remember last week's stream, I managed to kill the motherboard header, and I've had another few attempts at soldering, and that USB Type-C header I've actually made worse. So I kind of gave up on that. There was a video which has just gone out to patrons, which is basically Bob, bless his heart, sent me a PCI Express USB 3.0 card, which I've just put in there to connect up the front panel header. So that is working, but I can't really sell the system, I don't think, with a broken header with that card in. Some would, some wouldn't, but I don't want to be kind of them come around and say, well, the headers are broke on the board, I'll give you 50 quid less. It's like, come on, give me a break. It's a broken header, it's not the end of the world, and there's a replacement card there anyway. So I have bought another motherboard from Kieran in the chat, if he's still there. So that's going to be arriving soon. So I'm going to take that motherboard out, I'm going to put the new board in, which is in A1 condition, and then I might get rid of that, don't know, probably. And then the board with the broken header, I'm going to keep that around. I might have another go at it. It's a difficult one. I might just keep hold of it just for testing purposes, because I do need a board for testing purposes, and I don't have one, so that might be just the ticket for that. Because even though it's like 120 quid motherboard or 100 quid motherboard tied up in stock that I don't really want to have tied up, but it does kind of suit a purpose, even though AM4 is kind of on its way out. So, you know. What's the bits in the bottom?
It's leaf aspect.
It'll probably be some drug, and I'll be like... Right, let's have a look at the questions. Freedom House 1984 says, I like the snap. What snap was that?
Might have been the case going together, or...
Oh. Whiteley Bob, anyone need shaking up or a good sorting out? I'll get my car keys. Yeah, Chris saying missing building PCs, but they're just not selling these days. Yeah, I think I was kind of looking forward to the 16 gig version of the RTX 4060 Ti coming out, but it's basically going to be just a crap card again, just with more memory. And it's like, put in a bigger engine in an already crap car. It's still going to be a crap car. It's just, it's going to be, it looks on paper better. It's not going to handle better or anything. So yeah, I think the mid-range market for GPUs at the moment is broken. Completely broken. And if it wasn't for Intel trying to kind of steer the ship slightly more straight, we're basically screwed, because the AMD cards, like the RX 7600, it's okay, it gets the job done, but it's still not really worth upgrading to from the 6600, which is about £100 cheaper on average, if not more. So that is kind of pointless. Then you've got the 4070, which has only got 12 gigs, so, and it's really expensive. You've got the 4060 Ti, only 8 gigs, on a really, really reduced memory bus, at the same price or more than the 3060 Ti, with a much wider memory bus, or better memory bus, and in general, slightly better performance. So that's pointless. So there's nothing really to look forward to in the GPU market, which is a terrible thing. And I think because we're kind of latched into it more so, that is why the kind of, if we're losing interest, you can only imagine what Joe Public's doing. Now you're going to get your kind of spikes as well, like your back to school PCs, your Christmas PCs, all that kind of stuff. That's going to make things a bit more interesting. But for realistically, until we get the 5000 series from Nvidia, or the 8000 series from the Radeon group, there's basically nothing on the horizon which is even remotely interesting, even if they drop prices, which is a really, really sad way to be. Like, there's no reason on God's green earth to choose a 7600 over a 6600 Radeon, because it uses way more power, it's less efficient, and basically very similar performance for more money. So even if they reduce the prices, it still doesn't make sense to buy one, which is like a really, really bad place to be.
Do you want baby Maisie?
Yeah, go on in. I don't want baby Maisie, really.
Do you want another drink?
Yeah, go on in, please.
Normal tea or that tea?
I think I got a normal tea over there, actually.
So do you want a drink or not?
I'll have... No, actually, don't worry. I'm alright. Thank you. Really random reviews in-house. How you doing? Welly Bob says the 3060 Ti for £279 is the best value card. I would agree. Yeah, the 3060 Ti is actually a cracking little card. I've got one. That's what's in the PC there running the stream. And yeah, it's been great. I paid way more than that, I think. Although, is that the... I did have two, and I'm not sure if that was the one I bought brand new or the one I bought off of Dave. If it's the one I bought off of Dave, it was about 300. If it's the brand new one, it was like 369, because I got it directly from Nvidia on almost launch time. Plus the stupid scan extra postage, so there's probably about 180 all in. So yeah, it's a very dire place for us as PC enthusiasts and gamers that just want to play games, but not be bent over for the privilege of doing it. William Bodie is saying, question, what about the 3060 12 gig? The 3060 12 gig is okay. Is it actually the 3060 range in general is probably where you should be looking. The 12 gig version gives you a little bit more flexibility if you're going for higher resolutions or more eye candy, because you've got more VRAM, but it doesn't have as much horsepower as the Ti version, so you kind of you're substituting one but gaining in another. So it's like trading cars. Kind of like, it's like going from a hot hatch to an estate. Like, the hot hatch is going to be more fun to drive and going to be faster overall, but it's going to run out of room if you want to start putting the dogs and kids in it. Whereas the estate is going to be the other. It's going to be great if you want to carry a lot of things or do a lot of stuff, but it's not going to be very good around tight corners. There's I should be a doctor. That's great. Great analogy. Nick Barnes says they seem to be relying on power savings rather than performance gains. They do, but the power savings for the AMD side of the fence isn't very good at all. Again, if you look RX 6600 versus the 7600, the 7600 I think actually draws more power, and even idling draws more power than the 6600. So, yeah. Ugly Bob says, I'm rocking a 3060 Ti at the moment, and it's fecking amazing. I think the 3060 Ti is the kind of the 6600 GT of its time. David Aiken says, Mike, you didn't buy one from me, you sold me one. Oh. So where did I buy... Who did I buy the 3060 Ti off of then? That's confused me. Kath, can you remember?
No.
Who would I have bought a 3060 Ti off of?
Was it off Facebook?
Might have been Facebook. No, I wouldn't have done it off Facebook.
Not George's friend?
No. I couldn't have bought two from Scan. That would be ridiculous. That's confused me now. Anyway. David Aiken says, you got both from Scan Direct, I think. Did I? I might have done. In that case, I lost money on it. Nick Barnes says, not good then. Don't watch many videos on new stuff as it seems pointless to me. That is basically, yeah, that sums it up. The market now is... It's just really broken. And there isn't any... like, people keep on saying to me, Mike, what AM5 motherboard should I get? Or what AM5 processor should I get? And it's like, well, what have you got now? and they're like, well, I've got a 5700 or a 5800X. It's like, well, there's no point. There's literally no point whatsoever. If you've got even a moderately decent AM4 system, like a 3700, 3800, 3900, or any of the 5000 series like the 5600, 58, 57, whatever, there's absolutely no point going to AM5 unless you've got a very chronic desire to burn a hole in your wallet. Or you must need DDR5 for some reason. If someone's giving you some DDR5 and you've got to build a system around it, then I would be tempted to sell the DDR5 and keep your AM4 system. Mookie MC, that I agree. Yeah, I'm not very good at that. Paul Lamont says, so I looked at the NVIDIA 4060 reviews, how poor it was, etc. So I got a Radeon RX 6700 XT, paired it with an R5. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. William says, something wrong with the audio? No, it's probably Kath doing something. Oh, the tinking, that's the cat eating out the bowl. Michael Craig says, how long have we had 8 gigabytes of RAM as a base for entry-level models? Almost 10 years now, right. The 8 gigabyte thing, I don't know, it's a difficult thing. You've got to think there's a very, very wide market with very different segments. So if you look at the kind of the mainstream European and American markets, and Australia and that sort of thing, they are very much kind of towards the, I don't know how to explain it, the people that embrace newer technology quicker. So for us in the market, we want to see these vast improvements or more memory, this, that, and the other. Then you've got the emerging markets where they're still using like 1050 Ti's and stuff. So the kind of the entry level point is more, it's not like a plate. It's not like a de facto thing. It's basically, it changes wherever you are location wise. And I suppose, I don't know, I'm not even sure of the point I'm trying to make here. I think 8 gigs of RAM is a good place to be for an entry level graphics card in 2023. I don't think it's the be all and end all. I think a 6 gig card these days is just as good, and even some 4 gig cards like the GTX 1650 Super with 4 gigs of RAM will play games very happily all day long and runs pretty well. So if you don't need all of the extra eye candy, or you're happy at 1080p or 1440p kind of low medium settings, it's still going to be okay. But if you do want to turn up the eye candy, you're going to need the extra RAM, and it's going to make a difference. So 8 gigs is nice to have. I think for any video card costing over £250, I think should have 12 gigs at least. I think £250 is the kind of the limit. I wouldn't buy a graphics card more than £250 now with 8 gigs of RAM in 2023. Unless I was extremely desperate. Like something like a 3060 Ti where it runs really well, 8 gigs of RAM, 250 is probably a little bit too little for that, even on the used market. But I think it's really where it should be. And even buying that Intel Arc, the A770, that was £250. 8 gigs of RAM is like, But then they wanted, I think, almost double that, or sorry, an extra £100 or more for the 16 gig version. It's like, well, I don't think I need 16 gigs. I think 8 gigs is fine. And as I've proved, running a 1440p monitor, playing the games I play, and also video editing, 8 gigs has been fine. Yes, it would be nice to have a bit more in there, but it's been fine. So I think 8 gigs is the kind of entry point, but it's also the mid-range point at the same time, if that makes sense. I don't know. Kenny D says, damn, my 3070 cost me 260. Wow, that's a great card. That's a lot of card for the money. Paolo Sordini, I got a 5800X and a 6800 XT. Not worth upgrading to M5. No, definitely not. There's no point. There really isn't a point. you're not really going to see any benefit. The only benefit, I suppose, if you're somebody who does like a build or an upgrade, and you do it maybe every, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, then if you're on the lower end of AM4, then it probably is worth doing, because what you might need in 5 years' time, 3 years' time, is going to be different from what's available now. And if you're on the kind of edge where your system's not doing what it needs to, then, yeah, I don't know. Even an X3D processor as a drop-in upgrade might even be a better solution these days. Dutch Jan's with us. How you doing, Dutch Jan? David Aiken says, Mike, I think you should get a few new titles, a few of the new problem titles into your testing suite. Hogwarts, Resident Evil, Last of Us, etc. I've been deliberating with that. I don't consider myself as being someone who does graphics card reviews. Even I don't really consider myself someone who does CPU reviews. I do opinion pieces, and I do those opinion pieces based on my personal experiences, because I don't want to be like a Gamers Nexus or a Linus or any of the other YouTubers that do those kind of really focused reviews on this gets 10 FPS more than this, or this game plays badly, this is against this, and they have like a bunch of like 24 cards or something compared. I don't enjoy that. I don't really enjoy watching it. I definitely don't enjoy trying to make it. It's super...
Do you like the sleep it induces?
It does. I actually genuinely, those sorts of videos I watch to go to bed, and it helps me sleep, because I find it really boring. Because ultimately, someone's opinion piece to me makes more sense, because if they kind of say, well, I like this card because it's a decent price, it's pretty quiet, it fits in this, this and this, and it runs these games pretty well, your mileage may be different. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool, fair enough. But when you see like 30 games tested against 15 different graphics cards, and there's all these things and there's swings and roundabouts, it's like, I just don't care. How much is it? Is it crap? If it's not crap, I'll probably buy it. So I totally understand where you're coming from, but I honestly don't care. And if a game runs badly on a 8 gig card, again, I would just, rather than be, oh my god, this runs terrible, alright, I'll run it in medium or low. Because it's like, I don't care enough about the visual quality. I would sacrifice visual quality for FPS if I needed to for some games, or alternately, if I wanted to go the other way around, I would sacrifice FPS to make it look nicer, because I think that's ultimately what a lot of people will end up doing anyway, because we can't all afford the latest and greatest, and the latest and greatest isn't worth the money. So I'd rather make sacrifices and get an enjoyable experience for not a lot of money. I think that's probably the way forward. But I understand entirely where you're going.
Gaming since 1981?
Hang on a sec, I was going to reply to that other part of Dave's question.
Oh, sorry.
So Dave says, I wonder if it would change your perspective on order 4 gig cards, etc., especially over the next 12 to 24 months. I don't think it would, because the point is with the older 4 gig cards, they're cheap and they're accessible, and for people that are on a budget, that means they've got to buy a graphics card as cheap as that. That means they can't be picky about their games not running well. If it's a poorly optimized game to begin with, even if they've spent double, triple what they've spent on their graphics card, they're still not going to get an enjoyable experience. So I don't think the sort of target audience that we are pretty much aiming towards is the more budget conscious, or the ones that are spending their money a little bit wiser. And if there's going to be 1 or 2 or maybe 5 games out of hundreds which run a bit like a dog, it's not many games, is it? So I think things like Gamers Nexus have put in a real emphasis on the VRAM in this, but it's not just down to VRAM, it's down to memory bus, all that sort of stuff. So if you've got like a much wider memory bus with less RAM, it's going to run pretty well, because you've got a wider bus to access it all at the same time. So the the actual physical number of it's only got 4 gigs of RAM or it's only got 6 gigs of RAM or only 8 gigs of RAM does have a lot of the variables attached to it as well. And also things like refresh rate and also the resolution you're playing at. I understand exactly where you're coming from, but for me personally, I don't put a great deal of weight on that kind of side of the testing thing because it doesn't bother me. And I think there's probably not, well, there probably is people that are bothered about it. But then if you're bothered about it, you're the sort of people that are spending either a lot of money on a system and not getting what you think, or you're trying to buy AAA games and play them on a budget system when, like, why should you get great results on a budget system paying AAA games? They're not designed for your computer. They're designed for the kind of can it play Crisis type machines. So yeah, there's a lot of variables about it, which is why I don't really want to get into it at all in terms of benchmarking. I hate doing it. I really do. Because it's so, there's so many variables, and I like it where like Linus and they do like a thing and they're testing like with like. The thing is now we've got FSR, we've got XESS, we've also got DLSS, and different versions of FSR, different versions of DLSS. So there's so many of these scaling technologies available. So if a game is running poorly, you can just use one of those scaling technologies to make the game run better at some visual sacrifices. But again, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. If you can't afford a rocket ship PC, then you are going to be making sacrifices at some point or other. Which I know sounds harsh, but it's life. Life is harsh. If you can't afford the latest and greatest, you have to make sacrifices to have an enjoyable experience. Much like me with video editing. I don't see the point of spending hundreds or £1,000 on a graphics card to make my video editing super smooth. I can make sacrifices. I can lower the resolution, the playback speed. I can not put 3 lots of 4K footage on the same timeline at the same time. So yes, for me, I think I put more value on spending the money wisely and making compromises to get a enjoyable experience. I'm ranting. I'll stop.
Gaming since 1981.
Have you?
No,
I can't see
don't
gaming
have.
since 1981.
I used an AMD Ryzen 7 5800X. I might upgrade, but stay on my X570 motherboard.
Okay. Are you? Yeah. All right. Yeah. I use the. I might stay. I'm not agreeing. Yeah. To be honest with you, if you're at. I'm getting confused there. So I used a Ryzen 7 5800X. I might upgrade, but stay on. If you've, I'm struggling to understand that.
Yeah,
So
both, he's using the same one as he says he's getting.
Yeah.
I get what you're on about.
So if you've got a 5800X and you're on the AM4 platform, there's basically kind of really no reason to upgrade at all. You are kind of at that sweet spot. Because if you spend more money on an X3D chip, yes, it's going to be better in a handful of games which support it, but it's not going to be like a tangible value. So the money you've put into that processor, or if you buy a new 5800 now, which are like what, £225 or something stupid now, like really cheap, the difference as you jump up into the performance class of the Ryzen 9 series, unless you're video editing or you need those extra threads and cores, there isn't really any point. I think the 5800 is the sweet spot. Maybe even the 5700. But yeah, I think the 5800X is pretty much like, for AM4, is the kind of the ultimate bang per buck. It's kind of like the replacement of the 2700X, which at the time on the B450 platform was like the bees, and there was pointless spending any more or doing anything else or even going to the Threadripper because you got so much value out of that processor. But yeah, I think the 5800X is pretty much the cream of the crop. Irie Wolfman, AM4 for gaming, AM5 for productivity and gaming. Never future-proof, as something newer will always come along and make it obsolete. That is very true. That is very true. William Bodie saying, question, MSI MB Z590 Pro Wi-Fi, LAN internet is slow. Do we have to do something in BIOS? Not necessarily. You should have gigabit LAN in there at least. Maybe 2.5 gig. I'm not too sure. I probably need to know a bit more about it. Might be either ping me an email or join the Discord and I'll see what I can work out. But if the LAN internet is slow, it might be something stupid like a cable. It just needs replacing or is not fully pushed in. So unplug all the cables, plug them back in all the way along the link from your PC to the switch or to the hub, to the router, etc. Make sure they're all firmly connected. Let's clear that. MookMC says, is the video editing machine pure Intel to take advantage of anything? Is the rendering time different from any AMD NVIDIA competition? Combo, sorry. Yeah, definitely. The video editing machine being all Intel for my main rig as well, at the moment as it stands, it performs better than it did with the 6900 XT in terms of the actual timeline, the smoothness on the timeline. The actual video output rendering, I would say it's probably swings and roundabouts, because at the moment I'm switching between using H.264 and H.265 depending on what the video is. So if it's a longer video, I'm generally going to be looking at H.265 to save space, but if it's a shorter video, I'll do H.264. H.264 with quick sync on Intel is like really rapid. So for instance, a 5-minute video will render in about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Whereas if I did that on the AMD Radeon, it'd probably take a little bit longer, maybe about 3 minutes. But if I went to H.265, the AMD card seems to do it quicker than the Intel. When it comes to NVIDIA seems to be like a balance of in between. So the timeline is pretty smooth, the rendering is pretty quick as well, and the CUDA cores only kick in at certain times when you're doing some specific things in the Adobe Premiere. I think it's more to do with like transforms and warp stabilizer and stuff like that. I think in just normal rendering, or if you're adding like titles and stuff, it doesn't really seem to make any difference, and the GPU is virtually never under 100% load with rendering. There's lots and lots of things which can make it so that your CPU is doing more than your GPU and vice versa, depending on the codecs used, the way you're exporting. It's an absolute minefield. It's not as simple as just saying, right, there's a video, export to YouTube, make it fast. It depends on a lot of things. So it's very hard to get a kind of a like for like combination, or to even render 2 videos on the same PC with different components. It's hard to actually get a tangible difference. At least I think it is anyway. What else? Let's see. Nick Parr says, Mike, that's not ranting, it's being realistic. If it takes a little longer, so what? For some people, time is money as well, so there kind of is that as well. I understand all arguments, but I do tend to focus more on what I do in general, the way I use a PC, because that's my only real kind of reference point. David Aiken says, my 5800 is annoyingly good. Would love to upgrade just for something to play with, but just can't justify it. No, that is the thing. AMD haven't done enough with AM5 to make it even remotely kind of sensible to do. I definitely wouldn't have that system up there if it wasn't for the fact that I do this YouTube channel. There would be no way on God's green earth that would exist. That was like, okay, I need to sample AM5, I need to see what it's all about, see what the deal is, to get a verdict on it. You didn't even want to do it? I didn't want to do it, no, I really didn't. I was like, my system works really well. It's been there and it's doing its thing.
But you can't really have a tech channel and not experience it. You
have to experience some things. Where did I get to? William Bodie, did you try a Cyberpunk 2077 benchmark with the Razer Mini? No, I'm a lot closer. I'm like that close, because this week, because I'm getting frustrated about not being able to benchmark some stuff, I actually benchmarked a video card from Ugly Bob. He sent the Elsa Radeon RX 580 8GB, the SP248, and it's been an absolute blast. I even said in the video, I don't think I've had this much fun for as little money in a long time. Like, it's a 50, I think it's £54, I think it worked out to be, something along those lines, for basically what was a brand new RX 580. And it's great. I've been playing all the games I normally play. I actually played CSGO at 4K. That was a mistake. It wasn't intentional, but I thought, hey, that's actually pretty cool. I was playing CSGO and I was like, I put everything turned up to the max. I started playing it, I was like, why am I only getting 100 frames per second? That ain't right. Then I looked at it and it's like, oh, it's 4K. Oops. And it wasn't until I went into the console and went to type in net_graph3 to get the stats up. I was like, why is that so small? I was like, 4K. So yeah, I was benchmarking CSGO in 4K on a graphics card which is like 6 years old. And it was great. It ran really well. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And like I said, it's a £50 graphics card. I played Cyberpunk, I played CSGO, Rocket League, Fortnite. What else was there? Oh, World of Tanks. Somebody who is a regular of this channel also said War Thunder. They've been complaining that I don't put War Thunder in any of our benchmarks. So I put War Thunder in as well, and I played that. Even though it's an NVIDIA title, I'll put that in as well. And I don't really understand what I'm doing, but it still played it at like 1080p, high settings, 120 frames per second. Like, for 50 quid. I know on the flip side of it, we've got these other graphics cards which cost like nearly £1,000 or £600 or £500. But it's like £50 to play these games at 1080p at reasonable refresh rates, and I can still go out and buy the family dinner without...
Like you would take us out.
I wouldn't do that, clearly, but you can understand where I'm coming from. It's like £50, £60 for a graphics card. You can have so much fun. And you can spend £10 that and then just be going, oh, it's only got 8 gigs of RAM. I'm getting frame buffering. Please help. I think the budget end of the PC market is so much more gratifying and so much more fun. Buying these little PCs like micro ATX motherboards, nice little cheap case, chuck in like a 3600 or a 5600, 50 quid graphics card, 16 gigs of RAM, couple of terabytes of storage. It's absolutely rocking. And you don't come away from it at the end thinking, oh God, I've spent a lot of money, but the game plays well. You come back thinking, I've enjoyed that and I haven't spent a ton of money. I love it. Chris Hartford says, are the AliExpress cards not recycled mining cards? To be honest, I honestly don't care. I genuinely don't care. For £50, it looks like it's brand spanking new. Even if they've taken a GPU out of an old card and resoldered it onto a new board, I honestly don't care.
Fair play to them that they can solder.
Yeah, the fact that they can solder much better than I can is like, hats off to them to begin with. But the point is, if they are recycling, it's great because it's not ending up in landfill. You're buying it from a retailer which is offering a warranty as such, and it's like 50 quid. Like £50 for a brand new 8 gig graphics card in 2023, which plays games at reasonable frame rates and is enjoyable. When was the last time you bought a graphics card for 50 quid, which you actually had a lot of fun with, and it seemed like it's a bargain? It's great. Like the RX 5700, which we looked at a while back from Elsa as well, like 100 quid for a 5700. That was pretty cool, but it's still like, that's £100. That's still a lot of money to some people. Like half the money and getting like, I don't know, 3/4 of the performance. It's bloody awesome. It really is enjoyable. So, and I know there's a massive market out there for it as well. Because people don't want to spend money. People ain't got money. Some have, some haven't. But there's also some people that just don't want to spend it because like, it's so nice to be able to like have a placeholder like GPU. So you've got a nice little system. If graphics cards get cheaper, yeah, stick in something nice. But in the meantime, just stick something like that in and it's good to go. It's happy days. I love it. Nick Barnes says, question, would you see a lot of difference between 1080p and 4K? We have old Sony 1080p, so curious about low-end 4K. There's so many variables. If you've got a really, really good 1080p monitor and then you swap out for a crap 4K or a low-end 4K, you're probably not going to enjoy it much. Yes, the picture is going to be better because you've effectively got 4 times the size, because it is literally 4 times. So you can fit 1080p 4 times inside of that picture in 4K. So clearly you're going to get a lot more resolution, but it's also putting a lot more strain on the system. I personally don't particularly like using 4K. That monitor's 4K for no reason other than the fact that it was cheap. My desktop editing PC is 1440p, which is I'm happy with. I would like 4K for it, just for simplicity for capturing footage, so it's all 4K. But again, if I wasn't making videos, there's no reason I would get 4K at all. I don't think there's any need for it. And again, it's just, you need to have like a crazy ninja PC to run it. I'm not sure if that's answered your question. Hopefully it has. There you go, Ugly Bob's answer. So he's been playing Sniper Elite 5 at 4K but started at 1080p. The difference is vast. There you go. I don't think my eyesight would notice much difference, really. I don't think my eyesight's sharp enough. Maybe if you wear glasses or you're slightly younger and you've got great eyesight, then you'd probably notice the difference even more. Rick H, I'm still using an Intel i7 3770, 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM and a GTX 1650 Super. Yeah, and I would imagine if you play games on it, you feel pretty smug. Because it's like probably running quite well and enjoyable, and it hasn't cost an absolute arm and a leg. Ugly Bob says, last time I had that much fun for 50 quid, I was in Amsterdam. Boom. Rick H says that's what I'm watching this stream with. Excellent stuff. David Aiken says, picked up a 488 gig reference model a few years back for 50 quid. Agreed, so much fun. Was great after some TLC. Had a dead moth desync to a nice freebie. Yeah, and full of protein. Happy days. What else do we get to? William Bodie is saying, look on Windows Update, that's where the ARC update shows up. Yeah, that's weird because it's not on Intel's website. Or at least if it is, it's the one I've already got. I've got the beta thing showing as well. Or accept new betas.
Mark 1988.
Roderick, what's that? Hang on. A 7-year-old grandson just asked, is that Mike? Bless him. I'm guessing there's a B missing there. It says less him. It is me. Aletta says I like 1080p. I do. I do. Sorry, Kath, what was that?
Mark 19, down a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Hey all, anyone had the head of a Corsair H60 half pop off? No. Can't say that I have. No. I've not owned one either, actually, I don't think. I think I had an H55, possibly. Dave Aiken saying, yeah, Nick Barnes, it's as good as the content you're watching. If it's for the TV, Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc., all miles better, especially if it's a bigger panel. Yeah, 4K would be nice for a TV, definitely. We don't have a TV. Well, we do have 2 TVs, but they're just basically big black rectangles.
I can't remember the last time.
I don't think...
We even used the one upstairs, I don't think, since
Yeah, I don't
2008. No.
I don't think we've used the one upstairs for TV, have we?
2015, I reckon, was the last time we even turned that one on.
Oh, yeah.
we might have made a video with that little tiny PC.
Oh yeah, if you look on our channel there's a review of the B-Link, is it BT3 B-Link mini PC?
Something like that.
That was the last time that TV was used.
Turned on.
Because
But
I used that
turned
PC.
on.
That monitor.
I don't think it's ever been turned on since it's been put on that unit, because it was on the wall, wasn't it, at one
Yeah.
point?
Oh, actually, that's a lie. No, it might have been turned on when we actually did the video for the wall mount. Because I made a
Which
video
is
on the
around
wall
the
mount.
same sort of time.
It was around the same sort of time. So that was the last time that TV was actually turned on and used.
Yeah, because when Mitch made our background, he used the name of that TV mount, didn't he, in it? So that must have been quite early on.
Sky's just bought a 40-inch ultra wide screen. Bloody hell, that's good. 3440 by 1440. Going to be driven by the Arc 770 16 gig. I think it's a good pairing. I think that's pretty good. The only thing I would look at on that is make sure that it's not running too much idle power, because certain widescreen resolutions on the Arcs really cause it to like drain ridiculous amounts of power, like 50 watts on idle, which is actually a lot, especially if you're paying the electricity bill. Sky Store says it's on the Intel Support Assistance Program. Yeah, that's weird, because I went into that just before I came on the stream and I couldn't find it. Unless it says I only have my TV if... I only use my TV if friends come over, otherwise I watch everything on PC. Yeah, literally, the only thing I've watched recently is Miami Vice. I said it was on my bucket list and I've almost done it. So 111 episodes to watch. And I think I've done probably 101, I think, 100, maybe more. I'm almost at the end. But I've done it in a stupid order because I did...
Oh God, you've watched the end one first.
I did Series 1. I started watching the beginning of Series 2. I then went to the beginning of Series 3 by mistake, and I forgot that I didn't watch most of Series 2. So then I've done most of Series 3, 4 and 5. I did all of 5. So now I've got to go back and watch the ones I haven't seen on Series 2, and I think there's a couple in Series 3 that I haven't watched, possibly.
Why do you do that?
It was a mistake.
But you always do it.
I know.
And you would always watch the end, like Lost, you had to watch the end.
I was so devastated to watch the last episode. And the stupid thing is, if you watch Miami Vice on Amazon Prime, don't. Because Miami Vice was shot, the 5th series was a really weird one. Because of what was going on, it was coming to the end, and because of availability, etc. If you watch it in the chronological order, it makes no sense at all after about halfway through. So on Amazon Prime, it goes like Series 5, I think it goes up to about episode 12 or something, which effectively is the last one. Then there's another 4 or 5 episodes after, which were actually aired at the wrong time. So, or they were made at the wrong, their original production dates were kind of after, so they've played, basically, they're not in order. So if you watch it in the order on Amazon Prime, you'll see the end of the series, and then you'll see like episodes which happened prior to it. So it's really confusing. So yeah, don't watch it in the order Amazon Prime recommends, because otherwise you get to the end of the series and you're like, oh man, gutted. But then you got some more episodes and it's like, you don't really want to watch the other episodes because you know it's over. Anyway, very strange. But yes, it's been very good. I'm probably going to watch it again. I like the music. It's very different. It's 80s music, but it's American music and English music, which is good. And yeah, it seems like a much simpler time. Like computers weren't really there. Phones were in a briefcase or a car phone. Mobiles weren't a thing. And house phones were like corded ones with the big aerial that you pull out. So yeah, it's a very cool thing. And I like the colour palette. The colour palette is excellent. There's no earth tones. And this is going to be bizarre. Kath's going to look at me now and go, really? Now, Miami Vice was shot in a certain way, so they didn't want any earth tones. in the
No
shots.
red on set.
No red on set. So you can't have browns, reds, anything like that. The only reds you could see in Miami Vice is occasionally blood, but not that often because they didn't really want to see it, so they darkened the blood out. So everything is in like almost like pastel colours. So you've got like pale greens, pale pinks, pale blues, all those kinds of colours which are synonymous now with Miami, Miami Vice, and like Hotline Miami. So yeah, hot pinks, hot blues, all that kind of stuff. And just looking at the colour palette is excellent. I love it. I really do. But when we worked at the BBC, we had a crazy producer who tried to do the same thing on a modern day TV show. I would love to be able to ask her that and say, did you do this because you watched Miami Vice and you thought you were Michael Mann? Possibly. We'll never find out. You never know, we might do one day. Nick Barnes, no, the music was by Jan Hammer. Jan Hammer, it's actually unusual because Jan Hammer did the title song and he did the incidental music. So as you're watching it, the same person that wrote the theme tunes is actually playing all the incidental music that isn't like pop songs and stuff.
They write a theme tune as well.
They did write a theme. They did actually, genuinely did, yeah. So yeah, it was a very much a game changer for TV when it actually came out, and I never liked it when it came out. I just didn't have any interest in it. But now, all these years later, it's like, this is really cool. I really enjoy it. Skystalker says Miami Vice was a groundbreaking show. It definitely was. Aletta says I used to work in Miami and there was a lot of Vice there, lol. Well, that's the ironic thing is Miami Vice was shot in Miami, and actually because of what they did there, they made it so that it became a better place, and it's gone from being like a bit of a dive when they filmed it, and lots of problems with drugs and all that kind of stuff, whereas now it's where billionaires and millionaires go to retire. So it's like complete turnaround. It's bizarre. So yes, very good stuff. Very enjoyable, and it's actually quite nice, especially when the PC market is as it is at the moment, and everyone's like, "This is rubbish." It's quite nice to just sit back, switch off from PCs and gaming, and just watch some old school TV crime drama, and just enjoy it a bit. So yeah, it's very good fun.
We go watch next Grey Shield.
No, I might. I'm very tempted to watch Miami Vice again from the start after I finish it again, because I'm sure there's bits that I missed in there because of just not concentrating. And I think actually it deserves another run, and to actually concentrate and look at the visuals and stuff and take it in. I love Art Deco. The Art Deco style is I like it. It's a great period, 1930s stuff. And in Miami where they shot it, it was the kind of historic Art Deco area which they used. So yeah, it's really good. Freedom House says they retire there because there's not property tax. Interesting. And also the fact that it's really warm, really sunny, and lots of beaches, I guess. It looks really nice. Rick H says I like watching Acorn TV. I'm not sure what that is. Not heard of that. William Bodie says, sad the Americans don't watch The Professionals. Yeah, then you'd understand where the name Bodie comes from. Bodie was actually one of the... actually, The Professionals, I guess, would have been the English version of Miami Vice. At a very similar time, actually. But more gritty and kind of set around London.
I like watching Acorn TV. It's British shows.
Ah, got you. Alessa says the only thing I miss about Florida is the beach. Nick Barnes says they had Edward Woodward as the controller. That's the new version of Professionals. The original Professionals had
Joe Lumley.
No, I can't think what his name was now. The main guy. Or the boss. Not sure. Anyway, I'm getting where so I think we should wrap things up before we just wither off into insanity, which I think I'm already getting there. I'm going to watch some Miami Vice. I'm going to enjoy it. And actually, I've got work tomorrow as well, so I need to get up. So I don't want to go on too late. So, Gordon Jackson, thank you very much. That's it. the guy from upstairs downstairs. I don't know. Some of that old stuff is great. So, thank you all for joining us. Hopefully you've had a relatively enjoyable evening. And let us know, find yourselves a 80s or 90s or even 70s TV show, and come back next week. That's going to be your homework, and tell us all about it and why we should watch it. That's going to be the next thing. Skystalker says, lol, Miami Vice watch party. That's not a bad idea. That'd be great. Get the beers in, get the drugs in, and watch Miami Vice. We shouldn't do that. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching. And end stream.